Definition of play. It's a verb and a noun. Engage in activity for enjoyment and recreation rather than a serious or practical purpose. Amuse oneself by engaging in imaginative pretenses. The boys were playing cops and robbers. Noun. Activity engaged in for enjoyment and recreation, especially by children. Behavior or speech that is not intended seriously. Welcome to Grounding Journey. I'm Chris Greer. As a 40-something mom, business owner, yoga lover, and long-time spiritual seeker, I've been craving deeper conversations, the kind that arise from connections with other women who are on a similar journey. My purpose with Grounding Journey is to provide a space where we can have real, fulfilling, and sacred conversations. Welcome to this week's play episode. I'm excited to have my guest, De'nicea Hilton, here to discuss the word play. As you heard in our intro, play has several different meanings. It's a verb and a noun, and I'm excited to see which one resonates with us today. When I was checking out her website, I saw that De'nicea creates playful healing spaces for women. She's a holistic play activator and a doctor of medicine, and founder of the Anywhere You Want to Be Perfect Playground, which sounds like lots of fun to me. All of her programs center around the intention to help women embrace, embody, and express her perfect, authentic self. I think that's awesome. Like, we all need to do that. And learning that serious healing doesn't have to be serious. Are you ready to play?
Oh, of course.
Okay. So thanks so much for joining us today. Tell me why you picked the word play.
Thank you, Chris. I'm so excited. So I chose play because of really what you said in the definitions, about really life doesn't have to be so serious. And because of my background in Oriental medicine, the healing doesn't even have to be so serious. Right. And one of the definitions that you had even mentioned recreation, which was so funny because there's a program that I have and it's called the Recreation Center. And I didn't even know about that, that interplay. So I think then that's just another example of just how kismet and divine everything is. I think that when we play, we invite a part of ourselves that's willing to take risks, really willing to see that things can be an adventure, really willing to take the lessons that come from it, and then really, as you said, enjoy it. So really, yes, how is it that I can help add in joy into your healing process and into your healing journey, right?
Oh, I love that. I love that you talk about bringing it into a healing journey. One of the things, I am on a 10-month intensive yoga teacher training. So next weekend, as recording today, this coming weekend, I say, is actually module 4 for us. And so we're really getting into the physical part, the spiritual part. And I know that's a big part of your Oriental medicine that you're working with, is really bringing the mind, body, and spirit together.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to start the conversation. I mean, we've started the conversation, but what I found is I'm reading right now The Yoga of Breath, a step-by-step guide to pranayama, which is by Richard Rosen. And as I was reading it last week before our call, there's a whole section about play. And I think this sums up, this will really give us a good post to get started. Because, Oriental medicine is so serious. Yoga is so serious. It's a practice. It's a training. And we don't have to be that serious all the time.
Which, you know what, before you read it, may I say this? And you know what's interesting though is, as you said that, all I saw was that little happy Buddha statue, where yeah, it seems like it is. It's so serious, and it is. People are in pain. They might, going through the dying process and all that kind of stuff. But then at the same time, I just see this little Buddha, who's totally just peace. At peace.
We take stuff so serious sometimes that we lose the fun in life. So I'll read this because this will really get us going. So, as opposed to training, true play is revolutionary. While tradition conserves and preserves, play turns over a new leaf, turns things upside down, stands things on their head. We're urged to play around and not follow the rules, to take risk, to be spontaneous, child's play, open-ended, free play, experimental, play it by ear, inventive, excuse me. Play is accessible to everyone. This is my favorite part. If we recognize and revere the world as the play of the goddess, we can join in and imitate this play in everything we do. Like, I love that. See, I told you were going to love this.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Rather than distance ourselves from the world and play, we engage ourselves in the world and integrate into the game. Play recognizes the inherent freedom and unique wisdom of the inner self. There's no outer authority, and so natural inclinations and the prompting of the inner self, not technique, impel our exertions. Finally, play is the process-oriented and present-oriented. There is no future goal except to keep the play going.
Yes.
Like, wasn't that great? That's why
That's like
I needed to read that today.
Culmination. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Because we get so focused and we forget to play, you know? One of the things that while I was reading this the other day, I have this girlfriend and she's got 2 kids and one's a special needs kid. They're beautiful kids and beautiful souls, and they're so playful. And I saw a while back that she had gone to a food truck festival with them, and she posted like 110 pictures. So she was so busy taking pictures that she wasn't playing with them. Like, and we lose that innocence, and, you know, to connect with the goddess, like, that's what we're here for.
Yes. Oh my gosh, there are so many parts of that. You got me sitting here going, okay, I'm gonna have to get that book just because of that section, because like it's totally my intention behind everything that I do right now, right? So like, and one of the things that really drew my attention was even it is the different types of play, for sure, definitely that. And because in that way people can see that there's no right way to do it, like, because that's you bringing in the creating the box, right? Whereas play is saying there is no box, you're opening yourself up to these possibilities, right? And I think, like, you know, in regards to your friend with the pictures and whatnot, I actually started finding that I start to explore, like, what is there, right? Like, what's there, what's behind it. And sometimes for some, like, I just like to have the conversation just to see, like, are you really like present? Like, and I've been with the friends that post, right? And there are definitely times where on the as the person who's a participant in whatever activity that we're in, where it crosses your mind, like, wow, are they really as engaged? And then you start going through that like judgment tunnel of, am I boring them? And now we blah, blah, blah. But, and the thing is that it's probably not even about, it's not even about you. It's really not. It's not even about you. And so if that is how they choose to engage, or like there's something going on where that's just what they need for that time, that's fine. I know for me personally, I've definitely gotten the, you know, being out at events, and if you're doing online work and all this stuff, then people want to see pictures and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to have to get blessed with a team or something, because if it's me right now, like, I'm so focused and I intentionally want to be right here, that I'm not actually thinking about, let me take this picture or something like that, right? And then I might think about it like later, and I'm like, at the same time though, I just totally appreciate like being like right there, you know? And
being present.
yeah. And so it's definitely one of those, I will say that because of being an entrepreneur, like, that is that part where you are thinking about, okay, well, that could have been a good picture for marketing purposes for something, you know. And then at the same time, though, I go, if I share what my experience was, or someone else shares what their experience was, and they have a picture, then great. But other than that, I'm gonna just feel really, really grateful,
Mhm.
and just and to be in that moment, to be present in that moment, and to experience the joy, to witness the evolutions that happen as I'm right there. It's one of those that I don't think that a picture could do that
Mhm.
justice. I know
Absolutely.
a picture's worth 1,000 words, but to witness an evolutionary process for someone is priceless. Like,
Yes.
and that's pictureless to me. Like, it's not like I don't, yeah, it's kind of like, how do you really take a picture of that? You can't, you can't.
Yes.
And it's their journey. And so I personally feel like if that's what they want to share, then awesome. Like, that's up to them. But I'm giving that to them. Like, that's not
Mhm.
my place, you know? So it's kind of, I don't know how I got there, but that's how I.
Well, I think that present and play really go hand in hand with each other because you can't fully play. And to me, playing is enjoying the moment, playing is being present. And if you're not present, it's so hard to play. I know for
Mhm.
myself, my son is 19, so he's graduated from high school, but his junior year of high school, it was like looming over me that he was, getting ready to graduate. These days were numbered. And that was really big for me, is that I really consciously made an effort to be present so that I didn't miss his last year at home, that I
Oh,
didn't miss his time. And I found myself more playful. I found myself not taking as many pictures, but taking them like with my mind.
yeah.
Uh, and it's funny because, my day job is a social media marketing. And like, if you ever look at my social media, you're like, why would I hire her? Um, and I have photos in my phone that come up in time hop that I'm like, oh, I never posted that. One day I'm not going to have this phone and I'm going to wish I still had that picture. But I'm so present in trying. And I mean, I don't get it right all the time. Let me tell you, I don't get it right most of the time. But when I do get it right, I'm like, job. Because I really get to play and sometimes playing for me is just
Mhm.
observing my son interact with my husband, observing my son playing with the dog, observing, other people
Yeah.
playing, because then I get to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So to me, those two go so hand in hand, present and play.
They definitely do. And that's a big, big part of it. And like I was just talking about this earlier today too. Was that because one of your definitions even referenced the child.
Hmm.
And at first I had an internal like, it's not just children. And then I was like, actually, like, this is the part of the child that's within us. So
Yes.
theoretically, I'm going to say, yeah, it applies, you know? But if you just sit there and you simply witness like what children do as they play,
Hmm.
and like, it's amazing. It's beautiful. Like, because they really don't they really operate from a place of so much presence that there is no thought into the future.
Yes.
Like, there is and then it's almost like they have to be taught about the lessons from the past, meaning if I did move my foot this way on the balance beam, I fell one time, so I may not want to do that again. So like, but then even that is one of those where you would want to say, well, maybe not move it that way, but maybe move it this other way. Don't let that not allow you to take risks later on, right? Thinking that for every risk that you take, you're going to fall. You don't really know, right? And so it's really cool to just be there. And I love your example of even seeing how it is that you play differently, because that is where I see a lot of people getting hung up, like, well,
Mm-hmm.
what is the right way, like, to play, like, is it these board games, do I go in to happy hour, do I, like, what do I do? And I feel like it's this in the context of play that I present is that it could be any of those.
Mm-hmm.
My only I don't want to say rule, or maybe it is a rule because it does apply to everything, is that it comes from a place from within. And it comes from a place from within that you would feel um, that you would actually experience some peace, you would experience the joy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's the difference that I would say, because then when people ask those questions about like, well, what do I do? And if you find that you're even having to like it's cringing kind of overstretching of yourself to do something, it's not like, it's not the stretch that, oh my gosh, this is uncomfortable because I haven't done it but I'm still going to do it, like it's a completely different one than feeling, then that's the type that's like probably not for you, and that if you continue to do that, then that's where you move further out of alignment of your spirit, mind, and body. And so it's like, yeah, you want to be present to accept that it's adventure,
Mm-hmm.
just like from the book, and it's going to stretch you. It's because you're literally traveling into the unknown, right? And so that is that type of play that I work with, is all of what you described, and then it's really seeing that acronym part of it, which is the potential in learning about yourself.
Oh, I like that. I really like that. Potential and learning about yourself. Okay. I got to
Yeah.
write that down
Do
because that's a good one.
it. And since you're reading the yoga one and you're doing that yoga intensive, you're going to get a kick out of this. So, I actually would do guided meditations and visualizations, right? And then I started realizing I'm saying play must stay at the end. And the thing is I'm actually saying it where it's understanding where namaste comes from in the traditional sense. But really what I'm saying is, yes, the potential in me is actually seeing and honoring the potential in you,
I like that.
and all of that. Like,
Yes.
yes.
That's really fun. Thank you for sharing that. That wasn't something we talked about ahead of time. So I'm excited that you said that. When you said acronym, I'm like, huh? But no, I love that because it really is the potential of learning about yourself. Because when you, back to the child part, when you relax and allow that child in you to come out, you do really see your potential. When you were talking, I remember my son was maybe 5 or 6. I was working really hard. I was in that stage of like, I'm mom, but I'm working, and weekends, I'm working all week long. So weekends, it took me a little while to unwind. And my dad had just retired, and he would come over and get Kevin on the weekends and, spend the night at Kevin's house. And my dad came home one day with Kevin and was telling me all the fun stuff they had done that day. And I must have had a look on my face when he was talking to me.
Mm,
And he said to me, he's like, you'll get your turn. You're just trying to figure out how to survive right now. You'll get to be a grandparent one day and you'll learn how to play again. And I swear
wow.
that day I was like, no, I'm not going to miss his childhood because I don't know how to play. I'm going to learn how to play now.
Yeah.
Um, and because we forget how to play. We somewhere along the way in high school and college, with all the studies and all the pressure of what we have to do with our lives, and then we become parents, or we become young adults who we've got to survive, we've got to pay our car payment, we've got to do all these things that
Mm-hmm.
society tells us we have to have. And not to get on a society kick, but like standards our parents tell us we have to have, that we forget completely how to play.
Well, I think it's also so a few things popped up. Like one of them being that one, which was really cool, is that there was a belief system that was there that you actually did not agree to,
Yes.
and you changed it. And so, but that belief system is for a lot of people, which
Mm-hmm.
is, well, wait until you're a grandparent and then you can play again. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, no, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Right. And so you saw that and then you changed it, and then you created a different life for yourself where you are able to incorporate the play now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that necessarily that we forget to play or forget about play. because we keep doing things trying to fulfill it, but we
Okay.
don't see it that way, right? Like,
Yeah.
so it comes out differently, right? It's like, oh, I'm so stressed out, so I'm gonna go to a happy hour. Or I'm so stressed out, I'm gonna go and get a massage. Or I'm so stressed out, I'm gonna go take a smoke or something like that, right? And in some regards, that actually is a form of play for them, and how that is that they are managing what they're perceiving in their environment, right? When it's this type of play, the intentional, conscious play, then one would learn that, huh, maybe those activities that I was doing, I thought it was play, but really it was me possibly not trying to address what actually is the stressful event. And so I'm not actually addressing the stressful event, I'm covering it, which is why then they like, those types of what started out so innocently as one drink or whatever might turn into something as such as alcoholism,
Mm,
or turn into like smoking addictions, or something like that, right? So like, because it didn't start out that way.
mhm,
And so if you have this conscious play coming in, right, it can
mm.
become sort of like a ritual, like a rich purposeful ritual, that you're choosing in what way, like, do you really want to experience your life. One of the things that came brought up, or I thought about actually, was Dr. Martinez. He discusses how, because some people be like, well, how is it that so and so can smoke their whole life and then they live to be 100 something something without lung cancer and blah blah blah,
Right.
or right, so, or this person's drinking wine every day and there's no liver disease and all of this, right? And so one of the things that he noticed, um, out of interviewing so many centenarians and whatnot, was that those practices, those people were actually creating a ritual out of it. It was not a routine. So that was the difference. And then I was listening to those cases more and more, and then I started seeing it in other areas as well. And because I was wrapping my mind around routine versus ritual. And the thing is that they might have the glass of wine, but there is a sense of presence and joy and purpose into the wine. Like, they weren't just drinking wine because their day was stressful. It was literally a part of them sitting and enjoying the flavors and the taste while on a patio and observing the neighborhood, or
Mm.
observing someone outside gardening. And it was a richness to it. It was like, the even to the cigar smoking, it was a richness to it. It was ritualistic.
Well, and
In
what you're saying, it almost sounds like they were present. They weren't
Yes,
numbing, they were present.
right. And so then I feel like that's where those those physical conditions pop up, is because the core
Mm,
reasoning behind you engaging in that behavior was actually a stressor. So
right.
what's the stressor? And so if it's a job that you don't like, or you're experiencing some things there and whatnot, then what can you do to change that? So because and then that's when you see that, oh well, now that they're in this happier work environment, or even out of a relationship, or they're in a different type of relationship, that all of a sudden they're not drinking as much, or the
Mhm,
smoking is not even happening as much, or all of the other behaviors that might be more detrimental to them, because it was in response to a stressor that was removed.
mhm.
And so then it's like, well, I'm just enjoying life like so much more. And it's like, awesome. Like, it's that core thing was being addressed. And they finally like got into a part of themselves that they created that environment around them to actually corroborate with their inner self.
Mm.
And then therefore the behaviors don't necessarily, they're not like reactive anymore. So yeah, they can go and get a drink, but the drink is going to be because they enjoyed the drink and they just enjoy the present company and whatnot, not as a reaction to a
Mhm.
stress response.
That makes a lot of sense. I haven't ever really thought of the depth of that, to being present versus numbing. I mean, I know there's days that I've had a glass of wine because I'm like, I want to numb out. But
Yeah.
then there's other days that, my husband and I will go to the winery. We have a really great winery down the road from us and go hang out on the patio because it's sunny and it's Sunday and we want to listen to music and we're present. And that
Yeah.
comes back to finding those little things that are rituals, that are playful, that are in present moments.
Right. And like I'll say that even then it's the this is like the psychoneuroimmunology, really long word,
I
but
was like,
like
did you see my face?
yeah, really long word. But basically it's the study of how it is that we think and how that actually would affect our bodies and our on the biological cellular level. And so imagine then if you were engaging in something that was stressful and like the body all of a sudden goes into its fight or flight. Like,
Mm,
I mean, the pupils change, blood flow changes. You're not getting blood as much to nourish the organs, because they're going out to the limbs. The blood's not even it's not in the forebrain anymore. It's moving to the back because it's tapping into the survivalistic areas of our brains. And then you add in alcohol, because it's toxin, right? So I just told you that all the blood function and whatnot that needs to go is not in those areas, right? So it's kind of like it's going to linger, and then we aren't processing it as well,
mm,
right? Where our decision making is skewed because we're not getting proper oxygenation because the blood flow isn't even in that area of the brain. And so like when we really, when you aren't under these stressors, it's being mindful that they're even present, because sometimes we get
mm.
so used to it that it's like, oh, and I'm it's happened to me, like, and
Uh,
that's when I've had to rely like on my body to show me, and I'm paying more attention to it, like
mhm.
I might be a little bit more stressed out than I think, Ben. And
Yeah.
what do I need to do right now? And you start to change course, and you just kind of go with it, right? Like, and that's the beauty of the play, because it is that level of presence, but then it's also being open to like, what's going to be adding value to me right now?
Mm,
Like, what is valuable right now to help me get into alignment where I am at peace, right? And what is that? Like, what does that look like? So, and
mm,
this is why some days, and sometimes it follows the cycle, like the lunar cycle, or it follows the menstrual cycle. So for if there's any women that are like, well, I don't really know, and then that's because that's the other thing, you attach to the experience, you attach to that form of play, and you don't want to. Not once did we say to attach to it. It's just experience it for what it is at this moment and
mm,
appreciate it for what it is at this moment. Understanding that at a different point in your life, in a different phase of your life, that may not be applicable anymore.
mm,
And so, like, I have seen it where literally, like, during the cycle, and there's other women that talk about this as well, like Lisa Lister, that it might be a time that dancing is more of your play
mm,
at some points of your cycle versus like a more internal type of play, such as just sitting back and just observing by yourself in a park.
mhm.
That's still a form of play. But,
Absolutely.
so like, even then, if you're asking yourself, well, how can I be guided as to what would work for me? Sometimes it's even as simple as turning to your own cycle and seeing where you're at. Like, PMS is an issue. Like, a lot of people make it into a big deal, and I'll tell you that I my experience, when I started my practice, I focused a lot on reproductive medicine. So I saw a lot of menstrual cycles are my thing. And so, and I'm going to tell you, PMS is actually one of those that I feel like if you actually learn more about the cycle and you learn about the fluctuations that occur during the cycle, you might actually learn that during PMS, what may come out is this frustration. Like, and people are like, oh, she's so angry and blah, blah, blah. That actually, if you ask yourself, whatever it is that might have preempted that response, might have been something that was already an issue for you.
Mm.
And it's just that hormonally, it's switched over to the predominating hormone that is not tempering anymore what it is that you'd want to say. It's just, it is what it is. And it's very curt and it's frank at that point of the cycle. And so, like, don't self-talk in a way that is putting yourself down because you're, oh, I'm just PMSing, or even offering that to someone else, because that downplaying it is not actually helpful. It's really what they're talking about is not because they're PMSing. It's actually an issue. Like, so it's actually something. So create the space for them to address it. Create the space for you to address it. And then that way, that internal stagnation actually starts flowing and it starts moving. And the more and more you're in alignment with what actually is going on and what it is that you want to address, and you start taking action towards that, I've seen it a number of times where the cycle changes and the period pain reduces, the PMS reduces. And it's simply because you got into alignment with what your inner spirit really wanted and what your heart wanted. And you started moving in that direction, and the physical body is showing it.
There's so much, I think, that we misread when we talk about what you just said about when we listen to our heart and we're connected to the inner alignment. My last podcast I did was all about soul, and how when we're not listening to our soul, or we're not connecting with our soul, how off we get. And, you know, and you definitely can kind of contribute to this with being Oriental medicine, that when we aren't in alignment, so many physical things happen to our bodies, the ailments, the backaches, like you were discussing, PMS. You know, there are sometimes that it's just I have a mosquito bite and it itches, you know, but then there's other times that I've got back pains or neck pain because I'm carrying the weight of the world right now. And we don't see how we're in alignment or out of alignment to really shift back.
Mm-hmm.
Or we're so far out of alignment that we can't see what's right in front of us that's trying to tell us we're out of alignment. And that all comes back to connecting the mind, body, and spirit, and really listening to the triune of them and let them communicate together. Because our body is an amazing thing. It's a temple that holds our soul here. You
Yeah.
know? And if we allow our heart and our mind and our body to all connect, we're really able to move through our journey. As you said when we were talking previous, that it's a journey, not a destination, and we have to let all of that connect together so that we can really follow our heart and our purpose. And it's so easy to say it, especially when you and I are just chatting. Like, I know right now as I'm
This is a
trying to
practice, y'all. Like, this is
oh
a
my
practice.
gosh, I mean, I read something in yoga recently that was like, it's a practice because you keep practicing. Some days you're good at it. Some days you're so far off of it. Some days you don't even know what you were trying to do because it's such a practice.
Yeah. But the beauty of it is that you're only thing that you're charged with is just be present.
Mm-hmm. It
And
comes
then
back to present.
yeah, just be present and like not judge it. Like, right? Like whatever it may be will be.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's it, right? So,
Yeah.
and that whole what you said about just the body, like it's so important to really take a look at how it is that you do look at your body.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't even look and don't want to look at their body.
Right.
That tells you a lot, right? Like, and even then it's like, if you can reframe it and change up the relationship that you have, and understanding that it is this representation, it is a representation of your spirit, it's a representation of your mind, like it's there. And so if you, whatever it is that you can do to help support you into going into this adventure and going into this journey, you know, like Some people do need that support. This is why you're in a yoga intensive. It's not just about knowing warrior one and warrior two. It's more than that, right? And so
Right.
like that, like sometimes we just need that guidance. We need someone to just hold that space, because it can be a space of vulnerability. That's what was also what you had pointed out too. It is this place of vulnerability. And when you're going into play like this and going into really learning about yourself on that level,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like it can be scary, totally scary,
Terrifying.
um like, and can be absolutely peacefully rewarding.
It's always rewarding. On the other side, if you just sit in the uncomfortableness and you observe and learn what you're supposed to learn from it, be the phoenix in the fire, watch it burn around you, and then come out, because you will rise. If you are following your heart and your mind and your body are in alignment and you're doing what your soul is here to do, then you will rise out of it. You're not going to burn with it unless you're not in alignment. And that's, like I said, it's easy for us to say it. Tomorrow, I may not feel in alignment. Like 3 hours ago today, I was like, I don't know if I can talk about play because I'm not feeling it. It's June, it's rainy, it's 58 degrees, and I'm like, so allow yourself to have the ups and downs, experience the ups and downs, not just crave the ups.
Yes,
And
that's a part of embracing all of you.
yes.
That's where I come from when I say this is perfect play. Like this is the perfect playground. And it's intentional, meaning that perfect, the root meaning of perfect is whole and complete.
Mm-hmm.
So when you can realize that you are whole and complete, meaning exactly what you just described, the parts that may be uncomfortable, right? The parts that you deem as the ups and the parts that you deem as the downs, the like all of that. It's feeling and embracing all of it, because all of it is you. When you try to repress, you're repressing with this energy, like you're spending so much energy trying to repress it, and then you're spending a lot of energy trying to use coping mechanisms. You're using a lot of, but then how is it really that you can just say, you know what, yeah, I ain't feeling this right now, let's just see what happens though in like 5 minutes as I allow this to run through me, and things can totally change
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes from now. And that's just the art of being present, but then also seeing that you have nothing to fix about yourself, because you are whole and you are complete. It's just those pieces of you are on these spectrums. And then where are you on the spectrum? How is it that you can use those parts of you harmoniously to your spirit, mind, and body? But not even just to you, but even to the collective consciousness. There's a reason why that's there for you, because that's a role, like there's something about that that's adding to others. And it's just how is it that we learn to use it?
Mm.
So asking yourself, how much is it that you're repressing those parts of you that actually are ultimately the gifts of you?
Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, like you're speaking to me, friend. That's just beautiful. It's definitely one of those that I always make the joke that I wouldn't call myself a perfectionist, but my husband might,
Mhm.
and trying to let go of that and really just be with who I am and where I am, and that where I am now is not where I'm going to be in 5 minutes. It's not where I'm going to be in 3 days. It's not
Nope.
where I'm going to be in 6 months. And we're also on this journey, that sometimes we put pressure on ourselves of how we've got to get to where we're going, and we focus on the destination instead of the actual journey of getting to know ourselves, realizing our own potential. Because why are we here on this earth? We're not on this earth just to be born, get a degree, raise kids, get a job, have a house, and die. Like,
Yeah.
there's a purpose to it. And whatever your faith, whatever your belief is, you can't disagree that there's not a purpose. We are all here for some kind of purpose, whether it is to grow and get to know ourselves, whether it's to support somebody else who's going to be make an impact in the world, whatever level your purpose is. To me, I think our purpose is to get to know ourselves, to
Mm-hmm.
experience life, not to just live it,
Yeah.
and being present and being play. And it comes back to present and play. And I love the conversation today has really connected the word present to play for me, because until I read that, and I've read this like 3 times, because I tried to read it so that when I was going to read it on camera that I wouldn't be like stumbling, or and I just let go of it. I let myself say, I'm going to look at the book the whole time I'm reading, and I'm not going to look at the camera, and that's okay, because I
Yeah.
wanted to be present. I wanted to read it right.
And
But
you might look at the video later and you'll see that even my head's down because and it's because I'll tell you, it's because if I have to really, really intentionally listen to something like that, the way
mm,
you amped it up for me, I have to actually close my eyes. I don't usually talk on the phone a lot either
mm,
because of that. Like, and then because I'll if I'm on the phone talking to you, I'm gonna really try to be like intentionally with you. So sometimes I'm literally like in the room and my eyes are closed because that's just literally how focused I am. So like you'll go back and you'll see me like this. And it's not like I'm sleeping, it's just I was just like listening. I was really feeling the words. And I was like, really
yeah,
so it's just how whatever way that it comes out physically, it's all good because we just connected heart to heart and soul to soul.
right.
It's all good.
Well, and really putting, like I was saying, putting the word play with present, because I don't play blocks. I don't play Play-Doh anymore. I mean, I have a niece, she'll be 10, and I play beads with her, and I try really hard to do that, because that's what she loves to do. And she's my girlfriend. Like, I didn't have a girl because I couldn't have afforded to have a girl. And then teen years would have hit and it would have been ugly. So I have a niece who lives 2 hours away, and I get to love her with all my heart and then go home, you know? But so I play with her. But to think of now as the word play as being present, whatever that verb is for you, of being present in your life, whether it's sitting and watching the neighbor ride their bike on the street, whether it's watching the birds fly, whether it's, just connecting and playing and feeling present.
Mm-hmm.
So I thank you for the word today, because now I'm like, it's a whole new meaning. I'm going to put it on my board and, focus on it for the week. Because I've
Awesome.
spent so much time being present. And, I think if you focus on play, you put too much pressure on it. If you focus on present, whatever word you're focusing on, you put so much pressure on it. So if you
Mm-hmm.
can take it and be like, this is what it means, like mind map it, here's play, and these are all the things it means, and try to do these, then you get to do this word.
Yeah.
And that makes it kind of
Do
fun.
that. Yeah. In a way, it's like that's how you take that from that seventh energy center and bringing it down into the tangible in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And however way, and that's what's the beauty of this when it comes to play, it's however it is that it integrates within you at
Mm-hmm.
that time, because you're going to change, you're evolving all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it said recreation, I call it recreation
I
because
like
you're
that.
recreating all the time. And so, and at each time that you're recreating, there's a different, you'll find that your needs change. And so, like, to really just be there, it's really cool to incorporate the play that's appropriate and that would add value to you, where you feel really like it just resonates with your soul. Like it's a whole different other feeling. It's not passive or anything. It's just, wow, like I'm there. I'm really there.
Yeah. I love that. I'm so grateful that you brought that word today. And it's definitely given me some really new outlooks. I like that I only do one podcast a week, because then it gives me the week to really think about what we talked about. And the whole purpose of this podcast is really to have deeper conversations that you don't get to have on a regular basis, to have new conversations with people outside of your circle, so that you're able to kind of expand your thought. And the name of my, I don't want to call it company or brand, podcast, whatever. The name of my journey right now that I'm on is Grounding Journey, because through these kind of conversations, we're grounding ourselves, which is an ongoing process, and we're journeying. And that's what makes it so fun, is the people that you meet along the way, that you're open to, that you can connect with, that you would not, I'm in North Carolina, you're in Florida. We met through an online Facebook post group, like there wasn't a way we were going to probably meet otherwise, but we've had this enriching conversation that I've got all sorts of notes on. I've been writing as we talk. You've got a book here now, like I want to read.
Yeah.
And hopefully our listeners have taken something away from that. And I welcome them to comment about it or share with us, visit us on social media. We're going to do a Instagram live in a couple of days once this airs, and really bring what you have, and not just be a part of our conversation, but start other conversations and connect with other women, or have deeper conversations that you might not have had already. Because right now, our universe, our energy, our life force, our everything we want to call it, is seeking that connection. Like that's why there's so much discourse right now, is because we're not connected, and we need to find those connections.
Yeah. In ways that you thought that you were connected, we're finding that we're very superficial.
Yes.
And so the sheltering and the quarantining took that away to call us to go deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And to connect in a different way. And now you see it, that you're being asked to connect soul to soul despite the packaging that it comes in.
Yes. Oh, thank you for saying that. That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sad with the quarantine that it's caused so many people to lose their businesses and their lives, but it's a chance for us to reevaluate and to look at ourselves. And everything else that's happening right now is a chance for us to look, how can we go deeper? How can we connect deeper?
Yeah. And you've
Because
seen you've seen like the coolest thing is that you've seen where the people that people, organizations, companies, the ones that you might even call it like an extroversion introversion type thing, right? The ones that were really running in the backgrounds are the ones that are actually being called to come out forward, and they're helping.
mm,
And that is even uncomfortable for them because they're used to running in the background and being there,
mm-hmm,
but I think then I also see the beauty of literally those grassroots type organizations that have been doing this type of work and whatnot are being asked and stretched to go farther.
mm-hmm,
And they're doing it, and people are seeing it. And so I think that I have a background in the nonprofit space as well. So, like, um, to see where people can actually see what it is that some of these organizations do,
mm,
and where you may not have known about this even happening in your own backyard. And then how is it that you're even wanting to help, like, so that in this chaos there's this level of compassion and conscious compassion that's actually building and growing. And you're seeing, like, I'm seeing it, like
mm,
I'm seeing it in all different ways. And um it's just I'm just so excited to kind of, like, I try to stay as present as I can, obviously. But it's just really beautiful
mm-hmm.
to see that everyone has been pushed to be uncomfortable right now. Everyone, on some shape, some form, some level, everyone this has touched.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's asking you, like, what are you gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
And so now we have a choice. And so it's really cool to be, like, in spaces like this, like, thank you for offering up this space as well. So, like, I really appreciate you doing that. And because it's, who knows who this might touch and who this might change, and just from having a conversation about one word.
Right.
Right.
And it was a great, like, I mean, you have helped me, and hopefully I've given you a little bit to think about. And like you said, one more person. And I'm so grateful for you being here today. And I know that our listeners are going to want to learn more about you. So do you have some new programs coming up? Like, what do you have going on that people want to hear about?
Yeah, I have, thank you so much for that. By the way, I've my space is my website really right now, which is at De'niciaHilton.com. You can catch me on Facebook and LinkedIn, both at De'nicea Hilton. We'll be on IG live, and I will totally be there. I do have a profile there. It's just like how much I'm there.
Well, maybe we'll do Facebook Live then instead. We'll figure it out. We'll announce it with the post.
You know what? Either one, I'm gonna play with it. Like, I'm gonna go with it. But yeah, like it's that recreation aspect of you're constantly recreating and you're evolving. That is represented in the membership that I have, so that it's every month, like I'm just kind of feeding off of what it is that we're members are calling for, or what it is that the environment's calling for, and putting together like live workshops and live play groups is what I call them. So they're like our live play group consultations and whatnot, where I'm bringing in like that Eastern medicine side into this play, and then where is it that you're at, so I can help guide you and give you insight and tips. Another one that people are really liking are these day retreats that are the unslumber parties, and total fun experiential time together, where we really do come to awakening into our souls and to our spirits. That's the unslumber part of that name. And then also I have a group mentorship. So the group mentorship is more of a intensive, in the sense that we meet more regularly live, going through these different concepts. That's a part of the perfect alignment playground. That's the method, so that you can understand these concepts and apply these as you grow and evolve. Like, if that's the one thing I've noticed, is when it's a message for you and a lesson for you, the packaging and the way it looks will be different until you learn this lesson. And so,
Yes.
and so within the group, then the group mentorship, that's how I offer ways that you can actually be able to learn these lessons through these different perspectives. And so that way you can call on those whenever you need to and everything. My intention is to have the playful spaces, and my intention is to guide. That's why I say it's guiding you. And just kind of meeting you where you are, and then seeing how is it that I may be able to help guide you into coming into your alignment, and then really your perfect authentic self to express, and to express so harmoniously.
That is amazing. I mean, you had me at the name Unslumber Party, but once you explained it a little bit more, I'm like, I thought Unslumber Party was like it's a day party, but when you say
Well,
it's
we're partying.
awakening, yeah, I think that's great. I am sure that these ladies that are listening are going to definitely check you out and want to know more.
Yeah.
So,
And I would love to just hear, just as Chris said, like just hear comments about from the conversation or our playversation, like what came up for you during this whole process as well.
I had to write that down, Playversation.
The
I'm gonna use
playversation.
that. So I will list all this stuff below the podcast and on YouTube. I'll have all your contact information. We'll have some good notes about what we talked about, so that our listeners can remember all the stuff I wrote down, because I'm sure I got them too. But thank you again so much for your time today. It was so much fun, and it was just great. And I thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening today. If you're seeking deeper conversations, I invite you to visit my website at groundingjourney.com or subscribe to my podcast.